Hello. Hello, welcome to my channel here, Meet Tina. And let me see, I'm gonna see, we can actually, can you see the recording?
Yes,
it's recording now, right? Okay, yes. So, all right, everyone, welcome to Meet Tina here. This channel is all about self-improvement, mind, body, and soul, and also anything has to do with health, wellness, anything that's beyond that. And today I'm very delighted to welcome Riaan. Riaan, he's from South Africa. Oh my God, all the way out there. Not only he is a talented astrologer, but also he can read palms, he can read your face. And to me, it's very hard to find someone. I mean, I found a lot of great astrologers, mind you, they're great. But to find someone who has that talent to do all three in one reading, that's unheard of, you know. And he had done reading on me on my astrology chart, on my facial, and on my palms. And let me tell you, oh my God, fascinating. And not only that, he is very intuitive. So today, welcome, Riaan. Hello, welcome. How are you doing, Riaan?
Hello, I'm doing very well. Thank you very much.
Good, good. So, you know, awesome. Love your background. Is that how you look in New Zealand? I mean, in South Africa?
No. I just like trees. I'll go into it.
Beautiful. Anyway, so can you introduce yourself so the listener will know a little bit about you? All right.
Yes. My name's Riaan. I'm from South Africa. Then I really people. I'm always been fascinated by people and their characters, and also try to get an idea to understand them. And I was always fascinated with psychology, and I never really got into studying any of this. I went into engineering, but through my life, I've always been very fascinated with people and how they work. And one of the things that I started to see was that I could pick up small signals about people, and I got more interested in that. It was kind of a journey for me. I went through a really bad patch, and then started to learn a lot of things, really tied in with my intuitive side. And from there, I made a decision to astrology was really fascinating to me. But in some way, I saw it was very fanciful, and it gave you a lot of information. But some of it wasn't really relevant, or it was very generic. And I thought, okay, well, it's fine. You know, a lot of people have this generic qualities to them and to astrology, and it just was really not that precise for me. And then someone suggested to read palms, and I started to do palm reading. And when I did palm reading, I thought to look at the astrological chart, because I see some similarities between the palm and the astrological chart. And I could see that, well, on the palm, it wasn't everything that the astrology chart reflected. It was just a certain amount of it. So it's just one part of it. Then what happened was that my friend that does face, I was visiting her. We were at a restaurant, and I was busy reading a palm, and the waitress came over and said, well, can I read her palms? And, my friend, I got to one part of it. My friend said no, she wanted to see a face. Everybody was wearing masks at the time, and she saw her face, and I could see how the face actually filled in some gaps. So there were some information in the hand, some information in the astrological chart, and the face, and all those things had relevance. So that was how I got to bring it together. And then also for some people, I was intuitive readings, and then I would use aspects of the intuitive readings, link that up to what the practical side of it is about, and then bring everything together into one.
Oh, wow. So this is self-taught, right? With the palms, facial reading.
Yes. For astrology, I actually did some courses online. So I actually did some studying. For intuitive readings, I actually did some studying as well with the school. And then the face reading, it was more self-taught in the palmistry as well.
Well, you know, that's fascinating, Riaan, because I mean, astrology, there's still get a lot of people around the world doing this kind of reading, and there's plenty of good astrologers. But I have to say, palm and facial are lost art. It's impossible. I remember my friend used to ask me, hey, Tina, you know anyone who can read palms? I said, it's hard to find. I mean, normally you'll see that in China or India, but still that's very hard to find. Yeah.
Yeah. So in Vietnam, there's a lot of people making it.
Really? Okay. Well, yeah, I can see that in Asia, usually from the old country, and also in Middle Eastern. Yes. Yeah. And for you to self-taught yourself and to be extremely great at doing this, because I got really from you, fascinated by that. I'm impressed. That's why I got you on. Yeah, because I want people to know about you, because this is something that not many people can do, all three in one, you know? That's wow. So anyway, I want to ask you, so let's say someone come to you, you know, I mean, I already knew the process. What is the process of someone coming to you and able to get this kind of reading? You're all the way in South Africa, you know, how does it work?
Okay, well, the world has become really small because with the pandemic as well, a lot of people have gotten used to Zoom conferences like we're having now. And I can talk to people across the world instant. So it's not really, there's no regulation of speaking to people. But I do in-person readings here in South Africa for people. I also do Zoom readings for palm readings. And then what I do is I generally collect information beforehand because it's quite a lot to put together. I want the person's birth details. For astrology, quite important, or it's very helpful if you actually know what time you're born. This is not common for everyone. Not everybody knows their time of birth. So before you come in, it will be a good idea to ask your parent, look on a birth certificate and get a time of birth, also the date of your birth, and then also the place. The place is very important. Also, if your place of birth differs from the current location in, then what I do is I relook the astrological chart as well, because then there will be slightly different characteristics that's relevant to you where you're living currently. I think that's the case with you.
Yes. I was born in Thailand, and my rising sign is always Cancer. And when you sent me a chart, I'm like, wait a minute, it's not. And you told me that you used it according to where I'm at right now, Los Angeles, which kind of makes sense to me. Now, Riaan, I know some people do not have exact birth time, or they don't know their birth time. How's that work?
Well, then some features just become irrelevant. All I do is I use midday. The one thing I check for is the moon sign. The moon changes sign every 2.5 days. So there's a good possibility that your moon sign would be then unknown. So then I wouldn't focus on those things that are on the line or questionable. And then I would rather just focus on the things that are really prominent. It's the same with the face as well. If some of the features on the face is not really clear or distinct, then I basically go either ignoring it completely, or I see most relevant and most visible.
I see. Now, speak of the face. I have more questions now. Yes. When you read face and palm, let's say for those, especially now, there are a lot of people have plastic surgery. People may hurt their hands or have scar, or maybe the hand lines are not clear. Will that work with the reading? How does that affect when the person have their facial changes?
Okay, facial changes would then, that would be a good idea to actually ask and see, yes, do they have some cosmetic surgery? If they did, it's a good idea to send an older picture, one where they were younger, so that I can compare, so I can see, okay, well, what was changed, how did it change? Because when you change your face, when you do cosmetic surgery, it actually changes to who you want to be. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it changes your character. And the way to solidify your facial is by actually doing the input as well. One of the things is that some people try to remove wrinkles, but they don't do the work inside to actually get over the situation, and then the wrinkles will come back quite quickly. So this is one of the peculiarities of face reading, where people actually try to get rid of some aspects, or they try to change it, and it actually returns.
Good. Now, not only you do a combination of astrology, facial, and palm reading, you also do clairvoyant, which is intuitive impression that you picked up, correct?
Yes, correct.
So you integrate that into your reading as well?
I do sometimes for some people. It just depends. Some people don't really like clairvoyant readings, or it doesn't really have relevance for them. So it depends on who the person is and what they like or what they don't. So if they are open to a clairvoyant reading, there's no problem to do a clairvoyant reading for them. But that I would do before I look at any of the charts or the hands or the face, because those kind of things would influence what I would find. And I do that first, and then once I've done that reading, I make a record of it, and then I'll go and I get all the other information. The astrological chart I do on a software program on the computer. I get photos of the face and hands, and then I will do the reading, and then I will add comments from the clairvoyant reading into that as well.
Wow. Yeah, you guys, I had a clairvoyant reading by Riaan before. I'm telling you, 1 hour of full information. It's not me talking. Riaan just bam, 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 with so much information. And I'm like, how did you get such a detail, so much information nonstop? Like, you just keep on talking, you know? And I was like writing down everything, but everything was right on. Everything was amazing, you know? So yeah, I'm very impressed with that. So I just kind of want to share that with you, because I never really give you a really deep feedback back then, because I was like really not feeling well. I tried to be cheerful, but I was not feeling well. And this was the reason why I'm back to my, if I got COVID, I was really sick for like a little over a year. And my concern was just my health. And I guess I kind of wanted to hear about the health and well-being of my body, my health, when I was talking to you. And so with that said, my next question is that, why should a person get this reading, this combination of the reading from you? How would that benefit to them, in your opinion? Is that healing them? Is that help them? From your experience.
Okay, from my experience, the astrological chart gives the options that are open to a person. So astrology for me is really a very lovely thing to do. It's nice to get an astrological reading because it gives you so many options. It shows what paths and options are open to you. It doesn't necessarily mean you would. It's like going to a restaurant and having a menu, and you can't eat everything off the menu. Well, it depends on how much you can eat, but you can only pick so many things off the menu, and that's what people do. They actually go and things off the astrological chart practically, and that. It doesn't mean that other options are closed. It just means that they'll have to put some work in, but that those things would also come natural to them. So it gives them other options and that they can explore, and other avenues in their life they can try. Then very much about your character, and the character is very much about your interaction with other people. So how do other people see you? How do they perceive you? So if I go to you and I see, okay, well, you're not a very analytical person, even though you're in your mind quite a bit, I would then know that, okay, well, it wouldn't help to really give you precise facts and figures and exact details. It would be nicer to give you something that you can use that you own. So that would be more practical for you. And it's also in an environment where you deal with other people, what suits you better. So that for people, face reading is very much a tool to make sure that you can adapt your environment to suit you most. And if you're in the environment that suits you best, say, for instance, you have a meeting with a client, and you want to get the best result out of the meeting, you would set it up in an environment that suits you best. So you would set up the meeting in a way that suits your character, so that you have an advantage for that meeting. So it's just an example, but these are the kind of things that you can do and use. Also, if you interact with other people and you want to make a good impression, you know what their strengths are. You know you also know what your weaknesses are. So you can actually try and steer away from your weaknesses a bit and play on your strengths. So it's just on what your end goal is, obviously, but you can use that. For the hands is very much about doing. They're your tools that you interact with the world, and they show you how you practically go over and do things. So the hands would then be the way that you would interact with the world, interact with people in a very tangible way, how to affect other people, how to influence them, and those sort of things. So the hands are very much about how you do things, how you approach things. And when you combine all the different things together, it gives you your possibilities. It gives you the ways that your character is and how other people can perceive you, and also how you're going to deal with situations.
Great.
So that can help you make choices for your life. So for instance, if you're a person that likes a certain social situation, it would mean that you would feel uncomfortable, say, in a situation where there's many people. Okay, well, you don't. Okay, well, we'll go for you, and well, you can get along with a lot of different types of people. You wouldn't necessarily like to get too fast, but you would be able to handle a lot of different people. You have quite a assertive of nature, so you can handle yourself. You won't be overly talkative. So it would be nice for you to be in an environment that is quite open and casual, where you can talk and communicate, but also where it's more quiet. So you wouldn't like a very noisy place. You'd rather pick a place that you can interact with people more on one-on-one level or more on a level. And because you also have a very sort of capacity, you can rather mix with people that have a lot to say or a lot of different topics that they can discuss. It wouldn't be a good idea to talk to someone who doesn't have a lot to say or a lot of interest. Good. So that can help you make choices about who you hang out with or what you do and how you do it. So the other thing where it helps quite a lot is if you want to choose a career, that is something that I'm very fascinated in. When you choose a career, you can see, well, what environments would suit you, what kind of practical tasks would suit you, what character traits do you bring into the workplace, and that could help you make decisions around that. It could all other part where it's really helpful is if you have a partner and you compare yourself to your partner, you can see, well, where are the gaps, because relationships are very much a partnership. And whatever you lack is what the person needs to have. And if there's something you're very strong at and the other person's very strong at, you could have a clash.
Okay, ladies, relationship. Ask Riaan about that. That's like a major topic for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yes. Well, a good example is we were looking at some photos of my daughter's classmates, and there's a girl and a boy that really likes each other, but they've got very similar qualities. And I was saying to her, well, it would never be a good idea for them to date, because it would be like an atomic bomb. They would have this massive explosion. It would be something that really comes together very quickly, but it would come together quickly and then dissipate very quickly. So it would be like it'll be one big explosion, and then after that it would be devastation. So that's the thing. You don't really want that. You want somebody that can complement you. One of the examples is that I have a friend that is very expressive, and her husband is very quiet, and he's very contemplative. So the two of them work very well together, because she always keeps on moving and he gets stuck easily. So when he gets stuck, she helps him to get going. And when she's going and she needs to consolidate and bring all the facts together, then he helps her to consolidate and to really consider things properly, because she would normally move too fast for it. So those two people make a really good combination. They make a good team. It's also a good way to pick partners for living your life. I mean, my main belief about people is that people are really social animals or social creatures, and what happens with them is that their power lies in working together. And if you can really pick people that work together well with you, that complement you and that really work together with your strengths and fill in your weaknesses, and you fill in the weaknesses of the other person, you become like a very strong unit. And this is something that's very prominent in relationships. You will always find that in couples, generally the one person is one way and the other one the other, and there's a lot of lessons learned in relationships because people are different.
Right. Mm-hmm. Good. So with that said, Riaan, are you ready to do some, how your work looks like? Okay. So with that said, this is the time now. Riaan's going to pull up my chart, my hands. Yeah, when I look at the picture earlier, it was like, looks like it's dirty. But I wash my hands. A little embarrassed here, but who cares, right? So let's go ahead, Riaan. Show the listener how you do that. You can explain what you see. I mean, I kind of know that already, but it's kind of good to be able to show to the listeners. Sound good?
Yes, it does.
All right, so let's bring up this is how he's going to explain and how he does the reading.
Okay, so we first up, we have the astrological chart, and on the astrological chart, unlike most astrologers, I don't really look at the entire chart, all the houses. I really look at the main features of the chart. So I would look at the sun sign first, which is really strong in Libra, and then I would say, well, your sun sign is very much a representation of your character. So this is very much a reflection of who you are. When I look at the sun sign, we'll go to the hands just now, but one of the things that really reflects in the sun sign that also show in the hands, which I'll show, is that as an air sign, there's a strong lean towards knowledge, and there's a strong willingness to and deal more with facts. Libra is one of the difficult signs for relationships, and the reason is that it's not really a very emotional sign. And on your hands, it also shows that you are a more practical person. So seeing as you are more practical, it would be a little bit more on a relationships would be more on an intellectual level. It would be for mutual understanding of people. And, the other thing about your sign is that Libra is a cardinal sign. Cardinal signs are very much about pioneering. It's going out into the world head first, and you would change things quite a lot. You would bring a lot of new things in your life. You would change quite a bit. You would want to get in there. I mean, you've got a couple of features that shows that you have a strong personality, and that would also be a way to bring everything forward all the time. The problem with these kind of signs is that you would then not be able to consolidate very well or finish things off. So that would be a spin-off of it. So then we look at the moon sign. The moon sign is in Sagittarius. Sagittarius goes really well with your one of your previous professions, which is air hostess, and that is very much about traveling, liking foreign places. If you want to go on holiday, that would be to somewhere that's foreign, somewhere that's completely different where you are. You would like to explore when you go out and relax. And on your hand, it's also, we'll show just now, but there is a travel line as well, so that would show that you would travel and quite a long way. When we look at the sign, this is a fire sign. Fire signs, okay, the moon is very much about your inner self. It's very much about your emotional self, about your inner workings. And I say it becomes prominent when you have to dig deep. So when you have to reflect on things, when you're stressed out, when you say, like you were, say, very down or so, then it goes very much about your moon sign. And your moon sign is an adaptable sign. It doesn't mean you go up and find things. It just means you can deal with situations as they are and adapt according to them. Then Sagittarius is a fire sign. Fire signs are very much about expression. So this is kind of a conflicting type of situation for the moon. So wanting to get something there, but having to keep it in. And for this reason, when we look at the hand next, you'll see that your hand actually shows signs that you do have a lot of activity inside your head. So it just means that you actually want to express a lot of thoughts, and because you're dealing with things inside, it just means that you've got a lot of activity going on in your mind. So
yes.
Yeah, so this is one of the things that would be slightly problematic. And then we're looking at your rising sign as well, which is Scorpio. This is very much also a sign that is not that is very much about intensity. So very much about intensity, very much about things that go on underneath the surface. And again, your fingers on your hands are one of the major features that I can see. So very much inside your head, very much a person that would go in their mind and do a lot of mental work, do a lot of inner work and so on. What you were saying that's very relevant to this is that you were saying before that, with COVID, you had a process of healing yourself, and that is a process of going in, really finding out what will work best, devising some kind of strategy or plan. And this is very much to do with what your moon sign is, but also what your hand. So okay, then the other things that normally I would do is look at any sign that is quite strong. Mars is in its home sign, so Mars is quite a strong planet. And I'll have a look now in your hand if it shows. Mars is also very much about getting going and spending a lot of things. So we would see how that would show up. I would look for some extra supporting things in your face, or any support that's in your hands as well, when we look at something like that. Then Saturn is also at home in Aquarius, so that's also quite a strong placement. So we would look at especially the middle finger shows about Saturn quite a lot. So I would that specifically. Your middle finger is a strong finger. And seeing your fingers are strong, you also have a very prominent middle finger. So that would mean that structure in your life is really good as well. This is also in retrograde, which means that most of that structure would be internalized. So it would mean that you would have a very good belief system or an internal structure based on conceptual things. So you would make based on it would be nice to follow some ideology. I know you've done some things on Buddhism, and you've really done it very well. I can see it because you have a lot of wrinkles. This is quite common with people that follow that kind of lifestyle, and they really get things. They don't hold on to things very well. And this is actually a lesson for everyone out there. If you don't want wrinkles, Buddhism is the way to go, really.
Well, I don't hold stress.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a kind of person who can let go of stress quite well, and I'll find a way to distract myself where I don't concentrate and focus on the stress. I mean, I went through it during COVID when I got sick, but I got to figure out how to just let it go. And I just got it go. Yeah, definitely.
So from the astrological chart, where that ability to move on would go is from your actual type of sign that the sun and the moon is in. So those two signs are signs that show movement ahead and dynamism. It actually shows that you would move forward with things instead of staying behind. So that is important. When you get people that have got very fixed signs, they then tend to be very stuck. They get stuck. They also have features in their face and in their hands that show that they get stuck more easily. They don't move along so quickly. They don't like changes very much. So you are basically the opposite of that. You really like changes. You really like to get going.
Which is,
which is the same with me as well. But I do find people that do get stuck at, and then they have those more fixed features that have them stuck in some situation for quite a bit. Okay.
So Riaan, this would be good for some people who tend to get stuck in situations. So when you give them that knowledge and awareness, that's going to help them to have that awareness and be able to change or trying to work on letting go. Correct?
Well, okay. So for people that don't like changes, I would say choose carefully what your situation is that you get into. So if you're going to not change jobs often, when you have a job interview, really decide carefully what you want for a job. Because if you know you're going to be at one job in one profession for a long time, then very well, be more critical in the beginning. So don't worry if you don't really get a placement very quickly, but rather get the right placement in the right company that suits you. And then if you know your character well, you can see that you can go into a company that has the culture that can suit you, where you can fit in.
Got it.
Yes. So for somebody that's very dynamic, on the other hand, a situation that's very dynamic would suit them. So a place that moves around quite a bit. For me, I'm also a person that's very dynamic, and my work situation is very dynamic. We work in different countries. We move around quite a bit. We don't work on one thing for a long time. Everything we do is different time. So there's a lot of changes going on all the time. We change our processes. We change the way we do things. So again, that would be very nice to know up front, and then you could choose something that suits you a lot more. If you're a person that's very fixed, then you go into a very changing environment, it might stress you out. So you might get a lot of stress at work, and then because you're getting stuck in a situation easily, you could get stuck there in a position you don't like, or you could get stuck with a person that doesn't want to live in the same place all the time like you do. So that could be decisions that you could make. Or if you have a person that wants to go around, you can have, say, you can really work on having one home and then maybe another home somewhere else that could change. Or you could have a motorhome or something like that, so that when you go on holiday, that person can get what they want moving around all the time, but then you have your home base to come back to where you feel comfortable. So yes, there's obviously going to be compromises somewhere, but at least you would understand who you are and how you operate, and be able to make your choices a lot more knowingly and intelligently. Just to suit you.
All right.
Okay, well, let's move on to the hand. We're not going to.
All right, let's do it.
On this. Okay, so I'm going to just look at the back of the hand first. Okay. The back of the hand, we don't really look at the background, so which is good. So when I look at the hand, we look at things like skin texture. So your skin texture is more on the finer side. So that would just mean that you would really like to do things in a way. You can see that you like a little bit of more refined kind of things on you. You'd like to look better. So it's very much about being tasteful. You also would like more tasteful surroundings, decorating your house in a way that's more harmonious and not loud or overbearing. So this would be something that we see in your texture. And then the nails also tell quite a bit of a story. On your nails, it shows that you're a person that likes things your way, and in very many areas of life. So the way that you interact with other people, you would want that in a way that suits you. And you might also be a little bit critical of others. Then your structure, the rules that you set yourself, you're not very changeable on them. You have your rules, you've got your structure that you believe in, and you're not really that willing to deviate from that. And then the way that you express yourself and communicate as well, you would like to do that in a way that suits you. one of the nice features on your hand is that your little finger is not overly long. We'll look at the inside of the hand just now. And and your ears are also closer to your head, which means that you would have the ability to listen to other people. You would give them a chance to listen to their topics, like we're doing now. And that's also people that can really listen well, that can hold a good conversation, because they would be able to talk about things that interest them, but also be interested in things about other people.
Right.
Where you could find other people. I know other people that really talk about themselves a lot, which only likes things that are interesting to them. And when somebody else talks about different topics, they get bored and they don't really stick in the conversation long.
Right.
This is from personal accounts from other people. Okay, so we'll look at the inside of the hand, which is then where all the lines are. Okay, so I just want to zoom out slightly. So then what we look at is we look at the shape of the hand. So for you, you've got a very fire hand. The palm is quite long, so it's a rectangular palm, first of all, which shows that you're a very emotional person. Okay, which is kind of contradictory to your sun sign and your moon sign.
I was just thinking about that. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So the thing that I would say about that is that if you're a person that's really connected to your emotions, and you're going to be a person that wants balance in your life, and you're more kind of leaning toward knowledge and that sort of thing, from the astrological chart, then a lot of that information there shows that it's contradicting in your hand.
Well, Riaan, let me share with you this. It's interesting you brought this up, because to others, I can become aloof or not really emotional or expressive.
Yes.
But once they get to know me, they know that I'm very, very sensitive and emotional. I really feel for a lot of people. So it's like having both sides of me. But most people will see just how I show my surface to be very unemotional or sometimes too aloof for a lot of people. I've heard that. Yeah. So
yes, and it shows in your eyebrows. It shows in your eyebrows as well, because your eyebrows are a little higher. So it shows that you like a little bit of dirt between you and other people.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't, and in your hand it doesn't really show that much. It shows that you're not unsociable, so you would meet with people. The palm of your hand also shows that you would rather take a little bit of time to get to know people. You would the situation a bit more carefully. You would engage with people, but you wouldn't go out of your way to get to that situation very quickly. So you wouldn't go out of your way to mingle with people and try to talk with them very quickly. You'll look at them a little bit, suss them out, and then go into a conversation. The other side of people that are like this is that they make really friends, because what would happen is that they would be a little bit more critical about who they let close. And because you're quite emotional and you don't let everybody close, the people that you do get let close to you, well, they are then that you would be really close to and really let into your inner circle, and you would actually hold on to them a little longer. So it's nice to get to know someone like that, because they become very loyal to their friends. So quite nice features.
It's fascinating. Yes, and you're correct about that, because I'm very talkative, sociable person when I'm around people, but at the same time, I tend to be quite private. I met so many people. A lot of people once, make friends easily. But for me to keep in touch with people, that's one of my maybe one of my main lesson in life. I'm not good at connecting or keeping in touch. For the longest time, that's my flaw. I realize that as I'm older now. And I'm trying to work on it. But you're right about it. It takes time for me to get to know a person. It takes time for me to I'm going to text you often, or I'm going to respond to you. Oftentimes I just don't. That's interesting personality too.
Well, one of the comments of someone that has this characteristic said that well, because they're so picky about people that they let close, they sometimes are overly picky. And what happens is they end up with no one. So it is a case they sometimes don't have people in their life because they're very critical about who they let close, or they take up such a long time to let people into their life that those people sometimes lose faith and then they move on. So this is something that happens. And if it would be a case where you would be able to read someone's hands or their face or know this kind of thing about them, it could you could know that, okay, well, this is a very good person to know, and it would be worth to spend the extra effort to get to know them and get close to them, because there would be something good about them, getting close. So this would be something that you can really play with, and over time get to know them better. So when they don't really contact you that often, it's just their way, and you don't really take it personally. That's kind of the trick of it. I also know someone who is like that, who doesn't really like to get personal much, but because I know this about them, because I'm really aware of their character traits, I kind of don't take it personally, and I know that, that they change, and at times they're really friendly and sociable, but then there are going to be times when they're cold and distant. And when they're cold and distant, I just know to give them some space and let them be themselves, and then wait for that times when they really are a bit more sociable, and then we have like really long conversations, very good conversations. So and in such a way you wouldn't go and put your own shortcomings onto them. You'd be able to read them well and understand them, and you would be able to treat them more like they would ideally like to be treated. So this is very relevant with relationships then.
So Riaan, in my hand, what is a prominent in my hand, and what is a weakness in my hand? Are there such a thing that you're looking at that?
Yes. Okay, so we basically look for extremities. So you would also look for something that really stands out. When I look at you, the fingers are a little bit difficult because it looks like shadows are cast on the hand. But when I look at the hand, the base of the hand is something that really stands out. So that would be the bottom part of the hand here. When I look at your face, that is repeated because the two bottom sections of your face is the largest. And then I would also say, well, from this, it would be very important for you to get in touch with the world, to be physically active within the world. So touching things, smelling things, really getting the sensory type of feedback from the world is important to you. So it would matter, how a place feels like, or what something feels like, or the experience that you get feedback from something. So that would be really important. So this would be a nice idea to get into situations. I know you did a lot of exercise as well. So exercise is also a very physical thing. It's about using your body and sculpting your body, and it's very much about the physical experience of that. And that goes very well with the bottom part of your hand being a little bit more prominent or visible than the rest. Then when I look at your fingers, that also repeats in there. So you would see that the bottom section of the finger, with my cursor, it starts to disappear there. Okay, well, let's just make a circle around it then. So this section of the finger here, you would see that section is wider than the rest of the finger, which is then also the physical world, or the love of the physical, and getting in touch with the world around you, really making sure that you like what you see and what you touch, and like what you smell and like what you taste. So very much that is the part of the world that stands. With the shorter fingers, it also says that, well, and also with your forehead being a little bit smaller, it shows that you don't really like to do the mental processes. So something like paperwork, I wouldn't say would be something that you enjoy. I know you do something very physical for work, which really suits you, obviously. And even being an air hostess, it's very much about getting in touch with people, interacting with them. and also, not really a lot of paperwork involved in that. But so
yeah,
you don't have the kind of hands for people who want to do a lot of studying. So yes, it would be nice for you to learn something, but do it practically. So if I would say, if you'd say, okay, well, I want to learn something new, I would say, yes, do something practical. Don't learn about something, don't read a book and try and figure it out. Something where you do an interactive type of thing where you engage with other people or with the situation, do something hands-on. So, if you want to learn something, you would maybe do something like sculpting or something very physical. So that's yes. Yes, I'm listening.
Yeah, you're right about that, Riaan, because like for me, if it's not a hands-on learning, I lose it. For me to kind of learn online and read, I lose it. No, but physical learning, touching, sensing, I learn just like that. It goes deep into my memories. So you're right about that. I just have to, I'm very visual, very interactive. So
okay, well,
correct about that.
Well, the other side of this is that you would probably not do well at school. People that have that kind of learning, the school system is not developed for them. The school system for people who listen and who watch. And for you, that would not be something that you would do well in. So it doesn't mean that you're unintelligent. It just means that your way of learning is just different from what the system is about. And nowadays, there are school systems that go about exploring and about getting in touch with things. So experiments in school would probably be something that would have suited you a lot better. I don't know if you remember it, because it's been a while. But
yeah.
Yes, but the way I explain it to people is if I have say, for instance, I want to do a test, I want to do an experiment about something, the people that are very mentally dominant, they would get the idea of what the experiment is about. They would go and they would do the calculations up front and so on, and then kind of write their hypothesis about what it's about, and then also do the documentation afterwards. Then you would get the people that are more sociable. They would then assign the task to the right people, or they would structure it where they get people to actually come in and do the work, or get the people to do the work in a certain way. And then the people that actually do the test, that want to play around with the different substances and do the test work, will be somebody like you, which then do the very practical end of it. Once you've done the practical end, the people that do the more sort of mental work, they'll do the recording of everything. They'll write all the values down, and then they'll go away and process it.
Right.
So there's a lot of different aspects to that one task, and then certain people like one part of it, and then a lot of people like another part of it. Some people like the interaction, working together with other people, where they're close to other people and they can talk to them and interact with them. That part is the part they like. But then for you, it would be a practical part where you mix stuff together and see what it does, and smell if something comes off. Hopefully nothing that stings. But that would really be a way to see where you would fit in.
Right. So I have a question regards to all these three different type of reading. Which one gives you the most information? Face, hands, astrology? And do they predict the future? Because a lot of people do want to know what's coming into their life. Because our face changes gradually, the hand may changes. Is that also changes our what's coming in the future?
Okay, so as far as information, the astrological chart is probably the one that I draw the least amount of information from. And then the face, there's a lot of different features on the face, so I can get a lot of information from the face. It just depends it just depends on the person as well. If you have a face where things are very much kind of in the middle, where it's not towards one extreme or another, there isn't a lot of information. So you could get a person that from the hands, face, and astrological chart, there could really be very little information that comes through, because just they have nothing that goes towards an extreme, So they're kind of in the middle. They're just very average and kind of in the middle somewhere. Then you could get where they've got very extreme facial features, but not so much extremities in their hands, maybe very little lines in their hands, a very even hand. So then you would say, well, you would look at the face and say, well, your character is something that is really profound, but then your hand shows that, you know, the way that you interact with the world isn't. So this would probably be a person who would be more sociable and have the experiences more on a kind of sociable level with other people. Some people have very busy astrological charts, and then there's a lot of options they have in their life, or they've got something really pronounced on the astrological chart, and then there becomes like a lot to say about that. And then other people could really have features or extremities on their hands, a lot of lines on their hands, a lot of features and so on. And then that would be then the most interesting part. As far as studying the future is concerned, generally for looking ahead, there definitely is a way to see what's going to happen in the future. And generally things I give people on is, if people want to see about relationships, I could tell them what kind of relationship style they would have. If they would meet people, you could see at what time they would meet people in their lives, what age. Also, you could see how the relationship is shaping, how the relationship would go over time. And a good example recently is that a friend of mine has a friendship with someone, and this person sees her in a very pronounced way. But over time, the intensity of the relationship changes. So the relationship becomes less and less relevant over time. So she can already know that, okay, over time, this relationship is not going to be on the same level. Whereas somebody else has had, she was married to the same person for a very long time, and the relationship stayed on the same intensity and the same closeness over the whole duration of that relationship. So this is something you can also see. And you could see when on her hand, it actually showed when the relationship ended, when her husband died, and then the age her husband died was actually exactly at the right time. So I could actually see when it was that he passed away.
Oh, wow. On the hand, you can see when someone's going to pass?
Yes.
Well, look at my hand. How old am I going to be?
Well, for yourself, if I would read someone's hand, I wouldn't just base it on one indicator. The thing about the hand is that you don't see something in one little spot. It's not like you see one thing and you, ooh, this is going to be this definitely. No, you look in different parts of the hand.
Okay.
And some of the things, say, for instance, with clairvoyant readings, what's happened there as well is that you would see that something is coming up, but then you make the person aware of it. And then if they make life choices that move them away from that point, then they could avoid it. So say, for instance,
all these, Riaan, sorry for cutting you off. They're not set in stone. The future is just probability. That's not set in stone. You can avoid it.
No.
You can change it.
Yes. So what I was going to say, for instance, you see that, okay, you get some kind of a mental situation where maybe your mind is not strong, your mind goes weaker over time, and you really on your mind, you really train, you do a lot of mind training for the duration. You could actually find that then your lines on your hands start to strengthen, and you avoid that. If you just carry on as you carry on, then you would probably go on that path. But if you change your ways, then you could avoid it in the end. And this is the fascinating thing about the face and the hands. The face and the hands change. So yes, and one of the things that I would suggest is take photos of yourself regularly. It's good to have a photo every year of yourself. For millennials, it's not so bad because they take selfies all the time. So I think it's really nice for them. Well, it's a really good practice to have a lot of photos of your lifetime, so you could see what your face looked like in certain situations. At an age, you would know. Write the date and the time. Write the date on the back of the photo, or store it in a location where you can see what the date was. So you would know, okay, well, this was what I was going through at the time, and you can see what your face was looking at.
Oh, okay.
When your situation changes, then you can see how your face changes. One of the cases is
that makes sense, because for me, I mean, I don't know how to read face like you, but I can actually see how the person's glow, the skin glow, or the facial looks better, or when someone's depressed, which I didn't know, but you can tell by the color of their face, you know, because the energy just kind of show. So it does, makes sense to me.
Well, yes, also for healing. If people start with a healing process, or they start with some life changes, take a photo of yourself when you start. Some people actually start to look younger when they go through life changes, or they work on themselves.
Right.
So when people work, they actually look younger. So I've had where people tell me that I look quite young. I look a lot younger than my brother, who is basically the same age. So, and that's something that you can do, is take photos over time. If you're going to do a lot of changes on yourself, make sure you take photos before and after, and you can see because I think a lot of people forget how they looked like. So they would say, okay, well, I didn't change that much, but then people around them would say, no, changed a lot. So photo, I've recently gone through some training and so on, and I actually have a photo of before and I have a photo of after, and then I can compare the two. And the same, with your hands. The suggestion that I got from my friend was to actually make handprints. So what I do is I make a handprint every year, and then I can then compare my handprints from year to year.
Oh wow! Wow.
So with the handprints, I take the handprint, I write the date on it, and then I can see if something's changed over the year.
So well, for you can read your own hands and face because you got the knowledge. But for 90%, 99% of people in the world would not know how to read, like myself. You offer this service, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So how often should they get reading? Like, let's say if they want to come to you, how often they should get a reading from you with this?
Well, okay, with this is a very comprehensive reading, and because there goes a lot of time in it, it's actually something that actually takes a lot of time and then also costs quite a bit of money. So I wouldn't suggest doing this. If you're very interested, I would say, well, state what your purpose is of wanting a reading. If you say, for instance, you're really struggling with the choices that you made and you're really stuck in a situation and you want to progress there, you want to know, okay, well, I can make a lot of choices, but all the choices I've made up to this point didn't work out. Then it would be a good idea to get a reading that is very comprehensive to help you then make the decisions going forward. So if you just want to do this for interest, it's like nice to do it for interest, but then if you have the funds to do it, if you're interested, it's great. But if you really have to make a major life decision, or you have some big choices to make, or you want to change the direction of your life, it would be a good idea to really understand who you are and what would suit you best, and that would help you to make those decisions. And then steer you in a better direction. So this would actually prevent you from making more mistakes, or give you a lot better options to consider. So this would be it. For if you just have a very specific question, well, that is something different. The more specific the thing is that you want to know, the more specific a reading could be. So if you want a reading that encompasses everything over all time, that takes a lot of time, and that's something very comprehensive. But if you say have a one little window in your life that you want to look at, if you want to look at one issue, well, looking at one issue just means that I would just look at those specific things and answer a question that you have. So if you have a very specific question, well, that's a whole different thing. Then I would use all those things, but to answer that question of yours. And then it would be a very focused reading. It would be something that is narrowed down to one topic, and then it would not take as much time, and it would not cost as much, obviously. So there's a lot of variety and flexibility in actually getting a reading. So what you would ideally want to do is say, why would I want a reading? What that I want to know? Say, for instance, I did a talk on day for estate agents, and there was a couple that was married And then I read a couple basically as a pair and said, well, I looked at features that they have that complement each other, and also saw areas where they would have problems. And then there was another team of ladies that worked together. And then what I did was I looked at what strengths were, how they could work together better, but then also areas that they could improve on, or areas where they would need to focus more attention on or work harder on. So they,
go ahead.
Yes. No,
that came to my next question, because you mentioned about doing. So you can, let's say a couple relationship, you can actually look at their face. You can look at their facial feature and see if they're complementary or they're not.
Yes, you can see.
Oh, yeah. That's fascinating. Yes, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yes, and also the hands. Okay, let's look at an example, for instance. Okay, well, we could what we can do is compare maybe me and you. So if I look at the two of us, both of us are very energetic people. We're energetic people that do a lot of things. So people like you and I, if we get together, it would be nice to do activities together. Yeah. So we were very active, do activities. You would be a nice gym partner, for instance, because you would be very active. I would be very active. So neither of us would actually sit around and do nothing. We would also be driving the other person.
That would be pulling opposite.
Yeah. So that would be a really nice feature, because the two of us could really do something that is very active. The problem with that is that because both of us are very active people, is there would never really be any quiet moments. It would always be activity. So what you would want is the one person to maybe have something that balances it out a bit, because you can't go all the time. You have to rest as well. So you want some features that show that you could need a bit of rest.
So it's all about balance as well. When you have like the energy that have something in common, you need to have something that kind of help holding it, like a figure eight. Yeah.
Okay. Well, in the hand as well. Say for instance, I'll give an example of my daughter and I. My daughter is a person that is very dominant, and then so am I. And the thing is, with the two of us, because both people are very dominant, we have to find a way to agree on a level that we would have to be able to disagree as well. So in some cases, we agree to disagree. So she would have her opinion, I would have my opinion. They'd be different, but we don't try and convince the other person, because we know it would be futile. It wouldn't be worth the effort to try and convince the other person of something, because they would always choose their option anyway. So in a relationship, if you have two people that want their way all the time, it would just mean that they would kind of fight each other all the time to get what they want, unless they strike some compromise. So it would be a good idea for them to understand that about the dynamics of the relationship. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you get a person that's very dominant and try to get their own way all the time, and you have another person that steps back and doesn't mind doing for someone else, that person that doesn't mind doing for someone, they might do all the time. Right. And then the person that wants their way all the time has to realize that, well, they have to give that person some space and time to actually get what they want as well, in order to keep them satisfied, in order to keep them happy. So these things in relationships start to how you could then compromise, or what things you really have to work on. You know, the dynamics could be really good, but you would have to then do some work on the relationship and strike a compromise so that both people could be seen.
You know, Riaan, that's kind of make me feel like your work is not just about, okay, telling you your features and what you are, but really this is psychological work. This is kind of help people to really create understanding, awareness, and healing, really balance themselves in all aspects of their life. I think if this knowledge if people start to look into that when they're a lot younger, and the parents kind of help guide the children, really work, and even in all, it's about self. And I think when a person get to see all their chart, their features since young, they can actually benefit quite a lot, instead of learning at 50, 60, when we're much older and much wounded, right? And then trying to figure out the relationship or trying to figure out the career. This would be a great tool You do for children too, right?
Yes. I'm busy with a girl that's in school now that's struggling to find a career path. So I'm doing a reading like this for her to help her to choose a career path specifically.
Right.
And one of the things I find is that if you do a psychological analysis on someone, it shows where your talents lie or your aptitudes lie, but it doesn't always take into account large parts of your character. And the thing is, a lot of the tests that you have is based on questionnaires that you have to answer. So when it comes to a questionnaire that I have to answer, I answer how I'm feeling at the time. Whereas when I look at the chart, the face and the hands, I look at how it really is. Some people would perceive things in some way because they've been conditioned, but then because of their parents, because of the culture they're in, because of the religion they follow, so those things could really influence them. And when you look at the hands and the face, it doesn't really look at that. It actually supersedes that. It says, well, your character is this way, or your way of doing things is this way. Yes, you are in this very structured environment, but you might want a lot of freedom. For instance, one of the things that I tell younger children or like young people all the time is that don't try and get all your experiences in your household or in the school, because the school has got rules, it's got structure, it works in a certain way. Your household, your parents have a certain way that they prefer things. It's their house, their rules. They do things in a certain way. What you need to do is you need to go outside of those systems and explore yourself in an environment where you feel more comfortable in, so that you should learn things outside of your environment that suits you. And for instance, the one girl has got a lot of very good leadership features. And I was saying, well, do leadership courses while you're in school. If you've got all the leadership qualities, do the leadership courses while you're in school already. Because you can learn those skills. You work among a whole lot of people. You find a lot of situations where you work together with others. For instance, my daughter, because I like read her all the time, obviously, because she lives in the house. So I do a lot of reading on her, and I say to her, well, this is the features where you're strong, this is where you're weak. And she knows that when she's in a group setup, that she becomes really overpowering, because she's a very dominant person. And it's nice to know that, because I say to her, well, it is not a good idea for you to do all the work. It is a better idea for you to get somebody else to do the work for you.
Right, and then, create the balance. Yeah.
Yes. To know where you fit in. Yeah. So she knows where she fits in. It's not going to be worth it for her to do a job that's very practical or very physical, because she's just not that kind of person. And so I say to those people, it's important to learn a proficiency or skill or some kind of means to have other people do the work, because some people just really don't want to take any decisions. They don't want to take responsibility. They don't want to make decisions. They don't want to steer things in a direction. They don't want to lead things. So for them, working in a team is really great. You get people that are very self-driven, that do things for themselves, that are very practical, and they work on their own very well. And for those people, they can become solo entrepreneurs, or they can work for themselves. They can head up a division in a company, or they can have a very specialized kind of profession where they work on their own, or they do a very specialized task. So all those things kind of influence you. And you're very right to say that if I get a child, there's people with children out there, obviously, and you can actually see who your child is, because when I did the parenting thing, I've realized that the key thing that you have to do is to learn who your child is. You have to get to know your child. Good. And when you do palm reading or face reading, you get to know who your child is really quickly. Nice. And then you can actually adapt your parenting style to suit the child, and the child could be a happier child and grow more into a role that suits them better.
I like that, Riaan. So with that said, our time's coming, close to an end, but
no problem.
I would like you to give your contact or how people contact you. I'll reach you, Riaan, because you're all the way. I'm sure people from around the world can connect with you. So would you like to share what your contact and...
Okay, the easiest way to contact me, I've got an email address that I've had for many years. I look at it very often. I also look at the spam part of it, which is rivn@y7mail.com. You can also share it with them below if you want. And then you can contact me on that address and initiate a conversation. What I would do is I wouldn't necessarily go straight into a reading. We'll see what your needs are first, see if what I do really will help. And then we can go from there. The other way is I do have messenger apps, like I've got Telegram and WhatsApp. And for that, I have a telephone number you can link up with, which is +27, which is the country code for South Africa, 716884581. And you can contact me on those messenger apps. And if one of these are not suitable for you to communicate, you can always on email contact me, and then we can initiate the conversation, and then we can move it over into a area where you prefer. So, I also do Zoom calls. I do have Skype. I don't think much people use Skype, but I do use Zoom, and I have Discord as well. So there's a lot of ways that we can connect.
Yeah, there's one way they can contact you, connect with you, Riaan, yes. Right? There's no excuse. Yes. And by the way, guys, I'm going to put down Riaan's information, contact, underneath the YouTube description here. So don't worry if you don't catch it right away. It's going to be down there, and you can always contact him for counseling, reading. And with that said, Riaan, last advice, last words before we part, and you wanted to give it to the listener?
Well, I think the major thing about life is to really get to know yourself and get to know how to live your life you can. And I say, be the best you that you can be. So that's
awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Riaan, for being here, sharing your knowledge. So you are amazing. You're so knowledgeable, and I highly recommend everyone to contact Riaan. It's so worth it, because when you sent me a reading, it wasn't via Zoom at the time, but it was via Zoom too. But you sent me like the email that was like chock full of information. I was like, oh my God, he's just so right on. So with that said, thank you for your beautiful work. Thank you for this knowledge and what you offer to the world. All right.
Yeah,
until then, very much. Thank you, and we'll meet again, and maybe you'll come back again on this talk. Sounds good?
Yes,
thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.